Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Happy Friday. Welcome to Peter's Movie Club, where every week I announce a movie that we're going to watch the next week, and then I also review the movie that we watched the previous week. All the movies are available on Tubi, which is a streaming app. It's a free streaming app. No, I'm not sponsored by it. I wish I was. But it is available in Mexico, the United States, Canada, the UK now, and some other places as well. And they have tons and tons of movies. They have tons of TV shows, current TV shows, old TV shows, current movies, old movies. They actually have live TV over there. So if you're looking for a good streaming app, it's absolutely 100% free. There are ads, but like I watched two movies last night that were the movies from last week because it was a double feature this week. And I think in each movie, there were maybe 2 or 3 ads. So that's an hour and a half. I think the first movie had 2 ads and the second movie had 3 ads. So it's really not that bad. For a free streaming app. So go over there and check out Tubi. All the movies that I am picking are also available other places. Many of them are on YouTube, so you can watch them on YouTube if you don't have any streaming apps or you don't want to get any. But yeah, you can sign up for Tubi. You don't have to pay anything. And there's always rumors coming out that they're going to start charging. I've looked into that. There's no suggestion whatsoever that they're going to start charging for it. So you can make an account and then you can, I don't really use my account, but anyway, but you can make a list of like the movies that you want to watch and things like that. So you can, rate them when you're done and all that. So all the movies that I pick are from Tubi because I tried to pick a streaming app that, all of us could, watch from and, see the movies. So anyway, but like I said, they're also on other streaming apps. When I look the movies up, it'll say underneath there like Hulu, Paramount, Amazon, YouTube. It lists like all the different places that they are. So, I will tell you that I actually have not picked a film for this week yet. We're going to do it live on video. I'm really excited about it because last night I was watching the 2 movies from last night and I was like rolling through. I was like adding movies to my list. I keep an ongoing list of all the movies that I want to watch over here. All the movies have some kind of nostalgic factor for me, whether they were from 2 years ago or whether they were from 30 years ago. They all have some nostalgic factor to me. They mean something to me in some way, some way. So anyway, I'm gonna actually just like roll through the list and let the lucky finger pick the movie of the week because I had it narrowed down to like 6 movies and then I was like, I don't know which movie to pick. So let me tell you what happened. Last week, I kept on getting it was probably because I looked into it, how the algorithm works. But I was thinking about the movie When a Stranger Calls, which was one of our movies. So the movies for this week were When a Stranger Calls with Carol Kane and When a Stranger Calls Back. The horror movies from the 70s and then the 90s. And so anyway, I had thought about this movie. I think I saw an ad for it or something. I was like, oh, that would be a good movie to watch in the summer. I loved that movie as a kid. I was terrified of that movie. And then I saw some Facebook post about it. Some Facebook thing do you guys, there's I'm not even part of this group, but it's nostalgic movies or something like that. And it keeps on bringing up all these movies that I should just go off of this list. But anyway, maybe I shouldn't because let me tell you what happened. So every night for the last week, I was gonna watch these movies. And then it would get right down to it. And I'd be like, I don't really feel like watching these movies tonight. And so I would put off till the next night. And then I'd be like, I don't really feel like watching these movies tonight. And last night, I watched Big Brother. And then I was like, you have to watch these movies. You literally now have 4 or 5 hours left before you have to go to bed. And you have 2 movies to watch. And I had, to be honest with you, no desire to watch these movies. So, but I'm committed. I'm committed. And actually, this was When a Stranger Calls Back, I looked last night, was the 20th movie that we've watched over here for Peter's Movie Club. So that's pretty crazy that I've watched, or we've watched 20 movies that meant something to me in my life so far in Peter's Movie Club. It's kind of cool, honestly, and going back. And one of the things I always ask myself when I'm done watching the movies is do I need to see this movie again? Am I totally fine if I don't ever see it again? And I am totally fine never seeing these movies again. They weren't bad. So if you don't know what they're about, When a Stranger Calls, I believe it came out in 1977. It was interesting because it came out around the same time that Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis came out, and there's some similarities between it. There's when I was watching it, there's actually a lot of technical errors in the film, and if you are a super fan of the Halloween franchise like I am, there's a lot of errors in the original Halloween where they're like walking down the street and the pavement's dry, and then she turns and it's just been raining, and you can actually see some of the crew in the back of the film and things like that. And there's like scenes like that. There's a scene where she's like walking down the hallway in the first one and the second one, and you can see like the arm of like the cameraman and stuff like that. I was like, this is really bad. But I wanted to watch this movie because When a Stranger Calls is the foundation for a lot of other horror movie kind of ideologies. And it's the idea of somebody calling and not knowing who it is, somebody watching you, not knowing who it is. It was kind of the first of its kind. And so if you didn't watch it, I'll just give you a short synopsis. So Carol Kane is a babysitter for this doctor and his wife, and they've gone out to dinner. And so she's in this house, and the kids are asleep already when she gets there. And she starts receiving these phone calls. And I used to, I can't remember what I thought I said last week that he says to her on the phone, because we used to call each other and say this and, you know, prank each other when we were kids and stuff like that. But he calls her up or he keeps on calling her up on the phone, and he's like, have you checked the children? And have you checked the children? And then he's like, why haven't you checked the children? And all this kind of stuff. So at the same time, she's like calling the police. And so this is kind of the, you know, the cliched statement today, the call is coming from inside the house. So finally, she gets like one last call, and the police officer says to her, the call's coming from inside the house. And so she gets out of the house, and the police officer comes, and the police officer is Charles Durning. And but what happens is that the two kids have been murdered upstairs in the bedroom, and the murderer killed them with his bare hands. You find out later. And so anyway, so she survived, and the parents survived, but the two kids are deceased. They've been killed. So then it flashes forward because the guy's caught, and then he is like, I guess in his court case, they don't show all the court case and stuff like that, it flashes forward. He's found to be criminally insane, and so he goes to what they call an insane asylum, and then he escapes from the insane asylum, which is also another, like, you know, horror movie foundation idea, is this idea of escaping from an insane asylum. And so then it flashes forward, and he's like at this bar, and he is hitting on Colleen Dewhurst. Now, I have to tell you, I have seen a lot of movies with Colleen Dewhurst back in the day, and I forgot, like, she's so sexy in this movie. She really is. It's everything from just how she flips her hair to how she smokes a cigarette, just sitting at the bar. She's like this strong, confident woman, right, that you can tell has kind of a troubled past. And so she's sitting at this kind of dive bar, and he's hitting on her, and then the other guys get involved because they can tell that he's bothering her, and then he follows her home and all this kind of stuff. And so she's kind of established this relationship with him, even though she's told him to, like, get out of my life. And you know, it's interesting because when I was watching this movie, I can remember being terrified by this movie when I was a kid. I wasn't really that scared by the babysitter part of this movie, and I wasn't really scared by the end of it. I wasn't really scared because I knew what happened. I remembered what happened. The Colleen Dewhurst part, where she's walking through the streets and you know that he's following her, but you don't know where he is, that part for me was really eerie. And it's interesting because when you watch the movie, there's not a lot of music in the movie. Like, they don't use a lot of mood music. They use a lot of, like, you know, her walking down the street, the sounds of her shoes on the ground. It's interesting, the town, and then it's interesting because she's walking through the city, and then she walks through this place, and she walks up this, like, concrete staircase, and then over to go to her apartment, and that's, to me, the scariest part, because she's looking around her, and I think we've all been in situations where we're like, is there somebody watching me? Like, where am I at, right? And they really play into that in this movie, and that, for me, is the scarier part, is the Colleen Dewhurst part. And then he comes back, and she goes in her apartment, and so this is when she's working with Charles Durning and the police officer, because he's asked her to work with him. And so he comes to her apartment, and he's like, so he didn't follow you? And he's like, no. And so she goes in her apartment. Well, he's there. And so she, like, screams. Charles Durning comes up, and he escapes, and he gets away. Then it goes to the third part of the movie, which is when Carol Kane is now an adult. She has two kids, and she's married, and she and her husband go out to dinner because he's gotten a promotion. And so they go out to dinner, and while she's at dinner, it's so funny, like, watching these movies because, like, I was just thinking about this last night. Like, this movie couldn't be made. Well, I guess it was remade in 2015. I don't remember watching the remake of it, so maybe I need to watch it. But, you know, with the technology of cell phones today, like, this would never happen. I mean, it's all landline phones. I mean, even, like, the babysitter has to call the restaurant. I can remember, you know, when I was a little kid and my mom, like, you know, going out with her girlfriends, and I would have a babysitter or something, and she'd say, now, if you need to get a hold of us, this is where we'll be, and blah, 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 whatever. And so it's so weird, like, thinking back to that time, that probably seems foreign to people that didn't grow up with a landline phone, you know? So anyway, so then she's out to dinner, and they've got this babysitter, and I think her name's Rachel. So anyway, she is, like, just sitting there, and she's like, you know, like, wanting to, like, talk on the phone and things like that. And so then Carol Kane and her husband are out to dinner. I thought it was gonna be, this would have made it perfect. Because, like, in the movie Halloween, like, guys that, I can't remember who, was it Ben Tramer? Ben Tramer, yeah, it was Ben Tramer that Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, was interested in. And I actually have a bracelet that my friend Melissa got me from, because she has all the masks signed by all the, we did a whole video about it, I think over here, actually. She has all the masks signed. She has all the original movie posters signed. She has it signed by Jamie Lee Curtis. She goes to all the Halloween functions and things like that. She's a super fan. And so she got me a bracelet that says R.I.P. Ben Tramer. So if you guys don't know who Ben Tramer is, I think Ben Tramer's actually killed in the beginning of Halloween too. But anyway, there's all these kind of, like, theories and things like that off the original movie Halloween because of characters that you don't ever even see. Ben Tramer you don't really ever see, except I think he runs out in front of the police car in the second one or something like that. And so I thought it would have been interesting if she had married the guy that she was interested in, because at the beginning of the movie, she's talking to her friend on the phone, which that conversation was so bizarre. She's, like, dating this guy, or he's interested in her. You can't really tell, but then the friend's like, well, he asked me to do something, but I'm a loyal friend. I'm a good friend. It's just a bizarre conversation, but I thought, her husband's name at the end is Steven, and I think his name was Michael, and so it would have been funny if she had married the guy that she was, like, Robert maybe was his name, I don't know, that she would have dated, but that's not who it is. So anyway, they're out to dinner, and they get a phone call, and she takes the phone call, and it's the killer on the phone, and he says, have you checked the children? And so she, like, loses it and starts screaming, and they're trying to get a hold of the babysitter and all this kind of stuff. And so you don't really find out what's going on except for that, like, you know, no. So this is what happens. So there's nothing at the house, and so then she goes, they go home, and then she's terrified, and her husband pulls out the shotgun and all this kind of stuff. The kids are fine. She's, like, wandering around the house because she can't sleep, and her kid has, like, this candy in his hand, and she's like, where did you get this? And so she goes back into her bedroom, and I remember this. As soon as she gets back into bed, I was like, oh, I remember how this ends. And so she hears this moaning in the closet, and so she kind of, like, tries to get her husband wake him up, and when he turns over, it's the killer in bed. And then Charles Durning comes in and shoots him, and then he's dead. So anyway, that was When a Stranger Calls. When a Stranger Calls Back is basically kind of the same idea. It's about this girl. It starts off with this girl, and she's a babysitter. But I have to tell you, this babysitter scene, a lot of people were DMing me, and they were like, I didn't think the second one was scary at all. I thought the second one was really scary, if you want to know the truth. And it started storming last night, and it was lightning outside. I kept on getting up and, like, looking out my kitchen window. Like, I was scared. So the second one is about, it's not a phone call. She goes to the door, and there's this guy, and he's like, his car has died, and so he wants to come inside and use the phone. She won't let him use the phone, but she is like, I'll take a message, and I'll, like, call the car service for you or whatever. And so then he gets mad at her and whatever, and then finally, and he's like, you know, like, there's somebody inside the house, like, I can see him on the second floor, and you know, you're not in there alone. And so he says something about, look to your right, and so she looks, and this guy's coming towards her, and so she, like, opens the front door, and then she walks into the guy that was, like, living in the house. And so anyway, but they never catch the guy, and the kids are missing. The kids are gone. They have no idea where the kids are. So then it flashes forward to, she's now on a college campus, and people are, like, every couple months, somebody moves something in her apartment. I thought this was so eerie, because this is, like, you know, when you read, like, true crime and stuff, this is, like, stuff that they do. Like, she notices that a poetry book is moved. She comes in, something else is moved. She sees a face, like, in the window. So, you know, I remembered that it was, like, something about, like, a ventriloquist or something like that. I couldn't remember. I was, like, I remember the scene at the very end. I think I even said this, where he's, like, in the wall. Like, he's, like, painted into the wall like this. So, anyway, So she ends up, they said that she shot herself, but Carol Kane is now a counselor on a college campus, and she incidentally happens to work on the college campus where the one girl that has the exact same story as her comes to college. And so she has to go in and consult the police. And so she comes and she starts working with this girl, and the police don't believe her, of course. There was a part of me that thought at one point that it was a police officer, but I was like, maybe that was another movie. And then she calls in Charles Durning to help with it. And so this guy is basically hunting this girl down. And then she shoots herself, supposedly, but Carol Kane doesn't believe that's the case. And then at the very end, she goes back to her apartment. And so what they figure out is that they thought it was two men, one outside the door and one inside the house. And they find out that it wasn't two men. They go to the house and they visit it. And Charles Durning's like he was throwing his voice. He's a ventriloquist. So then Charles Durning's trying to find out who he is, and goes to his old apartment, finds out who he is, and sees all this, special effects makeup and all this kind of stuff, and goes to her apartment. She's, walking around with a gun, because he's like, Jill, 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 and he's, walking around her apartment, and then she's like, I don't know where you are, so she's like, she's gonna shoot him, and then he comes out of the wall and attacks her, and then Charles Durning, starts shooting at the wall, and then he, falls off the wall. So anyway, that was the end of that one. Was that how that one ended? I don't really remember now. God, it was so late last night. I feel like that is how it ended. Was there not anything after that happened? Why do I don't remember that? So anyway, well, that was the two movies. I was not that thrown out by either one of them. Definitely When a Stranger Calls. Well, both of them I never need to see again. I'm totally good. I'm totally, I know them now. But I have to tell you, maybe it's because I've seen When a Stranger Calls so many times. I feel like I watched it so many times in my youth, but when I watched it, it was everything that happened, I was like, I totally remember this. Plus, I will say this about When a Stranger Calls. It is it's an hour and 37 minutes. You guys, it is one of the slowest movies I've ever seen in my life. Not a lot happens in an hour and 37 minutes. And in fact, I looked to see when the beginning babysitter part ends, and it's at 15 minutes. That's only 15 minutes of this entire movie. I know how the second one ends. They're both in the hospital, and then he said, I thought you'd want to, Charles Durning says to Jill, Carol Kane, because she's shot, he said, I thought you would want a roommate, you wouldn't want a private room. And she looks over, and it's the Julian girl. Was that her name? Julia girl that was, so they're now in the same. Anyway, it was corny. The ending was corny. But that movie I thought was scarier. I actually did get scared. It takes a lot to kind of scare me. And I was kind of it was storming outside, and I was I'm looking through the kitchen window, somebody looking at me. So those were the movies for last week. But it was kind of a fun, double feature for the summer and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's go over here. Here is my, so I know you guys can't see this, but here's my Friday Night Movies, Peter's Movie Club. I am just, so I don't even know. You guys want to see how many movies I have on here? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. I at least have 100 movies on here. I will tell you guys the movies we've watched so far. So the first week was Night of the Comet. Then we watched Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael. Then we watched Wait Until Dark. Then it was a double feature of Joyride and Jackie Brown. That doesn't seem like that long ago, but that was April 26th. Then Waiting to Exhale and How Stella Got Her Groove Back was another double feature. Then we watched The Trouble with Angels. Then Teen Witch. Then On Golden Pond. Then Man in the Moon. Then Trip to Bountiful. Then To Kill a Mockingbird. Then The Deep. Miss Firecracker Contest. St. Elmo's Fire. Thelma and Louise. Rush. And When a Stranger Calls Back. Or When a Stranger Calls and When a Stranger Calls Back. So those are movies that we've watched so far. I'm going to roll through here real quick and see what it picks for me. I'm just going to go I'm just going to roll it a couple times and then see where it stops. Hold on a second. Let me get to the very bottom then. Okay, and let's see where it stops. And if I don't like the movie, then I have a movie kind of in the back of my mind to pick. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, I love this movie so much. I have to see if it's still on Tubi. I haven't seen it on Tubi for a while. This will be really, really interesting because I have not watched this movie in such a long time. And the soundtrack to this movie is incredible, first of all. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. Oh my God, this is oh, it's not on here. Well, it's, okay, the movie was Poetic Justice, so it's not on there anymore. I love that movie so much. I love that line when she's in the hair salon at the very beginning, and that woman, maybe it's at the very end, I can't remember. I think it's at the very beginning. No, it's at the very end, because it's when he comes in. It's when Tupac Shakur comes in, and he says to Janet Jackson, or that woman's in there, and she says, just remember every time you're kissing my man, you're tasting my... There are some great lines in that movie. Maya Angelou is in that movie. Okay, so, Poetic Justice, I'll have to take that off my list. Okay, let's do a movie. Oh, it just went out. Let's do movie roulette again here. Okay. Let's see what movie I picked. Well, okay, this is a good one. But this is interesting because, this is another one that I haven't seen in a while, but I think people will get a kick out of this. So the movie for this week is Steel Magnolias. I actually just added this to the list. Okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting pick. So let's make sure, I just added it to the list, but I want to make sure that it's not going away, because they leave. Here it is, Steel Magnolias. Nope, it's not leaving. At a salon in a small town, Louisiana, 6 gossipy Southern belles welcome into their fold a bride-to-be beautician with life-threatening condition. It came out in 1989, so I was a junior/senior. And it is starring Sally Field, Dolly Parton, Shirley MacLaine, Julia Roberts, Olympia Dukakis, Daryl Hannah, Dylan McDermott, Tom Skerritt, Sam Shepard, and Kevin J. O'Connor. Oh my god, I love this movie. I forgot that Sam Shepard was married to Dolly Parton in this movie. So Dolly Parton owns a hair salon. It's really just about a group of women in a small town. At the beginning, Julia Roberts is getting married to Dylan McDermott. I've seen this movie so many times. Should we pick another movie, or should we pick a double feature? I love this movie, but I just don't know that I really want to see it this week, if you want to know the truth. I need to pick a movie that I really want to see. Or should we pick options? Okay, let's see which one I just picked. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I don't think that movie's on there anymore. You guys are like, Peter, you just picked the movie. Well, maybe there's a reason why I should be watching Steel Magnolias. Let's watch Steel Magnolias. It's a great movie. It's interesting that that's the movie, because I was actually looking for one of my all-time favorite movies is Crimes of the Heart. So Crimes of the Heart and Night Mother are both Marsha Norman plays, but they were all came out and around the same time as Steel Magnolias, and I love both those movies. They're both about the South and things like that. And I looked, and Crimes of the Heart is not. It's with Jessica Lange, Diane Keaton, and Sissy Spacek, and they're 3 sisters. And I looked it up, and it's not on Tubi. So I was like, okay, so maybe this is the reason why we're supposed to watch Steel Magnolias this week. So we're gonna watch Steel Magnolias this week. Steel Magnolias. That's the movie for the week. You know what? It's interesting because, I'll pick these movies, I'll get real excited when I pick them, and then when it comes down to it, I'm like, well, Thelma and Louise I was real excited about. So maybe, because I let the universe pick the movie, I'll be really excited about this one. Now watch, I'll come on next week, I'll be like, oh my god, I'm so glad that we watched this movie. So this week's movie is Steel Magnolias, which I've seen 9 million times, and I could probably quote every single line, but it's going to be great. It's going to be good. So anyway, it's going to be great. It's going to be good. I should pair it up with Terms of Endearment. Oh my god, if Terms of Endearment is on Tubi, we're gonna team them up together, because these were 2 of my mom's favorite movies. She loved Terms of Endearment. I'm sure it's not on Tubi. If it's on Tubi, it's gonna be a great week then. Terms of Endearment. I bet it's not on here. No, it's not on here. Okay, well, the movie for this week is Steel Magnolias. Let me know if you're excited in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.